Test. Hello guys, welcome to today's stream. All right. Welcome guys. If you're in the chats, let me know about my audio, if you can hear me properly. Let me also know how everything is going. Today is just informal kind of setup. We're just gonna go through and we're just basically gonna chat and talk. So bear with me 1 second as I get things set up and ready to go. All right, test. And we're live. Awesome. So if you guys are in the chats, in the comments, let me know how my audio is coming, if you can hear me properly. The plan was to try to do this on both IG and YouTube. Kind of having some technical difficulties with IG, so we'll see if we can get it going as we go along. So let me know what you think and how things are going out there for you this Sunday evening as we hang out here. The goal today is to basically go through a few edits of some of the images I shot and brought in from a photo walk yesterday. But as we go through it, we're also going to talk about some of my favorite plugins that I use when I'm editing in Photoshop and in Lightroom. Some of these plugins I've used for years, and I'm going to walk you guys through some of these and what I do with it and how I use them. Let me know if they are beneficial to you as well, and then we can talk. If you have any questions in the chats, leave it in the chat and comments below as well. Let me know in the chats if you can hear me clearly, if my audio is coming through good as well. Before we get started, we're going to go through Lightroom and we're going to talk and chat. If you have any questions in general about editing, photography, you can ask them as well. I will share a link, and if you want to join in and quickly say something, you can also join in quickly and just share something with us all. Unfortunately, the IG feed isn't coming along. I'm trying to see if I can get it going at some point, but it doesn't seem to be working out like I expected to. The funny thing is I tried it all of that yesterday and everything worked fine. And today, just as I wanted to do it, I'm having issues connecting to IG Live. So we're going to stay on YouTube for today. Hopefully very soon we'll be able to get the IG Live working as well, because I know most of you are out there on IG and would want to be involved in the conversations as well. So that's it. So let's go through quickly. I'm gonna switch over to my laptop here and we're gonna take a look at some of the few images that we shot yesterday when we went out for photo walk. So here we are. Let me bring up my picture-in-picture. One second. I'm not sure. Let me turn on this picture-in-picture. Yep. And there we go. All right. So we're going to talk about a few plugins that I use, and I've selected a few of the images that from yesterday's photo walk that Paul put up, and we all went out there and we had met a couple of amazing people. The good thing is this, sometimes you feel that you know your area, you know your neighborhood a lot, until someone comes along and shows you that, yeah, there's other places in your own backyard that you really don't know. So yesterday's photo walk was kind of in my city, Brampton. And when we went through it, you know, sometimes you're always on in the city, you'll go around and you think you know most of the places. But the beauty of some of these photo walks is that you get to see things, you get to know new things from different perspective, and that's what really happened to me yesterday. Because yesterday, when we went out on that walk, I realized that there is still a lot of things that are happening in the city, a lot of places that you can potentially shoot out in the city that I personally haven't seen yet, right? And so there was a bunch of other people who are also from Brampton. And as we went down through the walk, they ended up showing me a lot of different places right within the city, actually in places that I have always walked and been, that for some reason I have never really noticed it, right? So it's always good to go out, hang out with people, and learn new stuff. So today I was just going to go through and then we're going to edit a few of these shots, and I'll show you some of my favorite plugins that I work with all the time when I'm working and dealing with Photoshop and Lightroom. Right. So let me just hide some of these tabs so we have enough room to work with quickly. If you can hear me in the chats properly, let me know how the audio sounds, if we're good, if there's any background noise and stuff. So there's a couple of images I just selected randomly from our shoot yesterday. Right, just a few random shots here and there, and we're gonna go through and edit some of these. Maybe we should start with something like maybe this one here. So we're gonna start with this image right here. And all I want to do is thanks Kim. Kim says in the comments that audio is good. Let's see. Right, perfect. Okay, so this is a shot that I shot. One of the ladies had her phone up trying to take an image of this alleyway here, and this alleyway, by the way, it's really beautiful. One day I would like to put a model somewhere in this alley and shoot. And I'm planning to do that very soon. But it's a beautiful place. So these lights come on at night, and you can see from the bokeh outside that this would be really great to have a model in front of that, right? But basically, how I edit and some of the plugins that I want to show you guys today. The main one is called Nick Collection. By the way, if you haven't seen my last video I uploaded, you may want to check it out. I went through the process of replacing the sky in Lumina. And if you also want to try out Lumina, you can use Brian's code, which is in that linked in that video, to get a free 7-day trial, I believe, right? So right there, you can get that. But here we go. We have this image in here, and I'm going to go to the develop tab quickly. For this image, I don't really want to do much here to it. All I want to do is maybe just bring up a little bit of the shadows if I want to. But no, I think I like the shadows where they are. Let me see. Yep, I'm gonna not touch much here, but I'm just gonna probably just bring in the vibrance a little bit and bring down the saturation just a touch. Let's see what we can do with the white balancing of this image. If I cool it down a little bit, I tend to like it somewhere around here. So this is the original white balance. Let's see what auto does as well. This is where auto white balance says it should be. But you can see that the colors are not that great, and especially in the phone here. So I'm not gonna do auto white balance. I'm gonna leave it as short, and then I'm just gonna cool it down just a little bit. Okay, so with all of this done, the only thing I want to do really with this image, let me probably just bring down a little bit of my highlights. But the only thing that I really want to do with this image is that inside the phone section here, I really want to kind of make that space pop a little bit. I could do that right here in Lightroom using the adjustments tools. But like I said, I want to show you guys a few of the plugins that I use. And the one that I use the most is called Nick Collection. Nick Collection is basically a collection of plugins. And let me just go to the site and show you guys what Nick Collection does quickly. Let me go in here. Let's bring up Nick Collection website. Check that full screen. And this is Nick Collection. It's by a company called DxO Mac. I've been using this plugin for years. When I first started using this plugin, it was owned by a small company, one person, one man team. But over the years, this software was bought over by Google at some point, and then Google made it free, so it became a free plugin that you could download off the Google's website and use for free. It was free for a whole lot of years, and then Google all of a sudden stopped developing that software, and it sat idle for a long. And then a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, DxO bought this software from Google and started redeveloping it again. But you're going to see why a lot of photographers love this software soon once we get into the editing piece, because it makes life a lot easier. So we are here back in Photoshop, and when you install this, back in Lightroom, and when you install this software, the plugin Nick Collection, you get a plugin for Photoshop, and you also get a plugin for Lightroom, but they also come in individual standalone. Each of the plugins comes in an individual standalone application that you can use, right, to kind of send to on its own, right, without having to open Lightroom or Photoshop. But I use it through Lightroom and Photoshop most of the time, because of the fact that you can then fine tune it and do whatever you need to do. Most of the time I will take it into the image into Photoshop and use Nick Collection in Photoshop, because Photoshop gives you a lot more versatility when you're using this plugin in there. But if you want to go through Lightroom, this is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to right click on this image. Why is my right click not working? Okay, here. And then we're gonna go in and do edit in, right? And as you can see, here is a list of all the plugins that comes with Nick Collection. So you have Analog Effects Pro, you have Color Effects Pro, you have Define 2, then you have Perspective Effects, then you have the Sharpener Pro 3 input and output sharpening, and then you also have Silver FX Pro, and you have Viveza 2. Now each of these specializing in a specific activity. So the Analog Effects Pro is when you want to kind of like mimic what we call the old film days. So you want to film stock look and stuff like that, you go into Analog Effects Pro. Color Effects Pro does a lot of stuff, mainly basically like color grading stuff. So if you want to color grade an image and stuff like that, you're gonna go into Color Effects Pro. Define 2 specializes in noise reduction, and it does it really well. So if you have an image that is noisy or grainy because you had to shoot at a higher ISO and you want to salvage that image, what you need is Define 2. So we'll try to go through some of these plugins on their own. I'm going to jump on them. The Sharpener tools is basically just sharpening. Silver Effects Pro is basically for converting your images into black and white. So if you have an image, you want to convert them into black and white, Silver Effects Pro is where to go. Viveza, you can use that for mainly editing and a lot of different other stuff. So we'll go through some of them. Mainly, I'll try to go through Color Effects. We'll take a look at Viveza and maybe Define 2, given the amount of time we want, because we'll try to spend about maybe an hour on this, like nothing more, right? So let's take this image first, and this image was shot at ISO 1000. So on the A7 III at ISO 1000, I don't have any issues with noise, but we can still do a little bit of noise reduction. But we're not going to go to Define 2 for now. We're just going to start off with Color Effects Pro. So I'm going to take this image to Color Effects Pro, and I want to do edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. So that basically makes a duplicate of the image or a virtual copy, and then you take that virtual copy in and edit it. So when you come back, you will have the original and you will have the copy that you have made, you have sent to Color Effects Pro. So here we are in Color Effects Pro. Let me send it full screen. And there's a couple of things that you will notice first. As you can see here, the first plugin has been loaded here, and this is vibrance and warmth, right? This is what it does. So what happens is that when you load up the software, the last plugin that you were using automatically gets loaded. If you don't want it, you can just click this X and remove it, right? On the left hand side here, you've got all the effects or plugins that you can use, and they have been grouped into different sort of genres for you. So you have films, you have nature, you have wedding, portraits, architecture, and travel. And based on whichever one you select, you have a set of defined plugins or templates or for lack of a better word, presets that you can use. And as you go through each of them, you can pick and add them to your filter slots down here. So for example, let's say I choose in the portrait section. Oh, by the way, you're not limited to going to portraits and using only stuff you have in portrait for portraits. You can even use some of the plugins from, let's say, the nature or the travel stuff to work on a portrait, right? So for this image right here, I just want to work somewhere in the middle here. I want to bring up a bit of a color to the phone section because it's too blue for my liking. I want to warm it up, right? So I can take that brilliance and warmth filter that we just had. Let's see where that is. Let's see right here under architecture. So once I click on it, you can see it gets loaded on my right hand side here. If you want to add a filter, you can click on this add a filter and you get a new empty filter slot. If you don't do that and you have just this one filter slot, and let's say I go in here and I select by color, it's going to replace the filter that I have in there. So if you don't want it to replace that filter you have in there, then what you do is you add a filter slot, all right, and then you get a new way to add on and stack them up. So I'm going to go back to the brilliance and warmth filter that I was trying to use, and that's right here, right? And for this image here, I want to warm up the image a bit, but I want to do it just in the phone area, right? But as you can see, this is just affecting everything when I do the saturation. So I'm going to turn off this, and I don't want to use saturation, but I want to warm the image a bit, right? As you can see, it's affecting everywhere. The beauty of Nik Collection is that it comes in with what we call control points. So at the bottom here, you see control points. And what control points allows you to do is to sort of have the effects apply to the areas where you put a control point. So in this image, what we've done, apply to everything, but I don't want it applying to everything. I only want it in the phone section. So I'm going to go back and reset all the changes that we've done, right? And we are back to where we started with. But what I'm going to do now is take a plus control point. So you have a plus control point and you have a negative control point. The negative control point basically will take away that effect from the place where you place it. The plus will add the effect to where you place it as well. So I'm going to take the plus sign and I'm going to go right here where the phone is, put a dot there. And you can adjust this control point by this circle that you have here. So by dragging this, you can make the control point bigger or smaller. So I'm going to place this somewhere in the middle of the phone and try to go a little bit bigger to cover the phone. And as you can see down here, this says opacity, so you can play with the opacity of the filter. And now when I go in here and I do my brilliance, as you can see, it's only affecting the areas within the phone here, right? So if I do that, I will expand the area, and the bokeh and the other stuff, out of focus areas, will get it. But as I go through here, you can quickly see that the effect, if I turn it off and turn it back on, the warmth is only affecting the phone space, leaving all the areas outside of that untouched. And that's because we are using this control point feature to kind of limit the effect to only the phone screen. So I'm going to add a new filter, And I'm going to add another vibrance and warmth because I want it a little bit more warmer. So I'm going to go in, and similar thing, as you can see, is affecting everything. So if I just put a plus control point right in here, bring up my warmth, right, and I will take this up a bit. You can see it's only affecting that space in there, and that's exactly what we want. So that control point is affecting just within that phone space. That's one of the things you can do here. For this image, I don't need to do much, but just to show you some of the other stuff that is in here, I'm going to go ahead and try to do a few more stuff in here. Kind of fly is in my office. Okay, so let's go through and play around with some of these things. So let's say you come in here and you select the brilliance and warmth filter, right? You also have the presets built in into that filter. So if I add on, let's say, one new filter slot, and I go in here and I select this brilliant and warmth filter, instead of clicking on the filter, you can see this little icon on the right hand side of the filter. If I click on that icon, it's going to expand and give me some built-in presets, right? So these are presets that have been built in for that particular filter, and I can try them out and see which one works best for you. So if you don't want to go in and do your own stuff manually, as you can see, you have built-in presets that you can play around with, right? And choose one that is good for you. If you choose one that looks okay to you and it's a little intense, you can come down here, and what you can do is just, you know, play around with the sliders again and reduce that filter. All right, guys, so if you have any questions, don't forget to type them in the comments section, and let me know as we go in the chats as we go along. All right. So I'm going to just reset this filter as well, remove it. I'm going to add a new slot, and let's try something different. So I'm going to hit the back key, and let's go in here and select the Pro Contrast. So let's say we want to add a little bit of contrast to this image. I can come in here and select Pro Contrast. Click on this. Take a look at some of the presets. And if I do auto contrast, dynamic contrast, strong contrast, neutral, and you can play around with some of these presets, and at the same time to come in here and just adjust and play around with some of these sliders. So I sometimes come in here and do some quick and basic stuff like that, right? I'm just gonna get out of here with just that, because the purpose of today's live is basically just to show some of the stuff you can do. So if I save it, and then go back into Lightroom, you can see that this is our original image. Oh, this is the one we brought back, and this is our original image. So this is our original image. This is what we brought back in. There's a little bit of warmth added, and the contrast have been improved. Basic stuff, right? But let's do a little bit of an advanced edit here. So I'm going to take maybe trying to avoid people in these shots as much as possible. Let me just take this shot, for example. For this shot, all I've done is bring in this and open up the exposure just a little bit. Let me quickly play around with colors a little bit, right? I want to go down here into the calibration tab, and guys, if you don't know how to use this calibration tab and you will want to see a tutorial dedicated to this calibration tab, let me know as well, and I will put something together. But basically, the calibration tab, it's a very useful tool that can really make life easy if you want to play around with colors and stuff. So if you are interested in learning more about how to use this calibration tab, we can go through and have a tutorial just done for that. But here we are in Lightroom. Basically, when you want to adjust the tones of the colors, you have this calibration tab, and you also have the HSL/color tab here, where you can come in here and just adjust individual colors, right? And they work fine for the most part, especially if I want to adjust color tones and stuff, and skin tones and stuff. I may come in here and make some adjustment to the oranges and stuff, but silly fly is bugging me. All right, so there we go. All right, so I can play around with some of these colors and stuff, and you can do that here. But I prefer using the calibration tab when I want to make kind of generalized tone shifts and stuff like that, right? For example, if I can shift these blues, right, the primary colors, the primary blues, and if I shift it down, just coming in here, bring up the hue of my primary reds a little bit, you can easily create that kind of teal and orange look in your image, right? So I can shift the blues towards the teals a little bit and bring the reds into the oranges a little bit, and just like that we've created kind of simple teal and orange look. And so if I come in here, you can see what that has done, just that slight change, right? You can play around and kind of use the grain to balance, start setting things out as well by shifting the greens a bit, right? But this is just a quick edit, so this is what we get. Let me see in the transform tab if this image needs a little bit of transform. Yep, to straighten up a little bit. So that's good. We've done that in Lightroom. Now I want to sort of kind of create a little bit of a vignette look, but I want to keep some of these details in here. So I want to create some kind of further process this. So I'm going to right click, and this time we're going to edit, and we're going to edit with Viveza. So let's go into Viveza and see what we can do in Viveza as well. Like I said, I'm just introducing you guys to the plugin, so I'm doing quick edits here. If you're interested in any particular plugin that you want to get more details on, let me know in the comments and we can take a look at those as well. So here we are in Viveza, and Viveza is basically like a raw processing engine of its own as well. So like you said, you can do a lot of edits. You got curves, you got brightness and contrast adjustments and all that stuff in here. All right, so if I come in Viveza, I can basically adjust my brightness. It's basically similar to Lightroom, but gives you a little more control and contrast, right? Saturation, I'm going to leave structure for this image. I'm going to leave structure untouched. And I've done this, right? But what if I don't want any of these effects that we've just done to apply to the person? I'm just assuming for this image, I like it. It's okay, right? But let's say I come in here and I don't want any of the effects to kind of apply to everything. Then what you can do here is you have a lot of stuff. You've got a control points, but you also got some color picker tools here that you can actually also use to pick stuff. But let's do control points. So if I come in here and I want to add on a control point, right? Because oh, come on, give me a second, guys. All right, so here we are. If I want to make these adjustments only affect that, then I can create a control point by clicking on this, and I can put that control point somewhere here. And let's say for this, I want to darken the sides and leave the girl a little bit more brighter. So then you can see the brightness here. And as I bring the brightness down, right? It's bringing down the brightness over there. So I can take this control point and you can invert it or just see the mask over here. But you can also sort of invert that control point. I'm having issues using this trackpad. That's fine. All right, so this is the control point, and if I want to adjust the brightness in that control point, I can do that, brightening up just the subject whilst the surroundings remain still darker, and you can make that control point bigger or smaller as much as you need, right? So you can easily create kind of vignette looking stuff with this, and if you don't want the darkness probably, let's say, affecting that area here, then you can also do a negative control point, right? So you can just add a new control point somewhere here, and you can take away from what you've done, right? So let's say I added brightness. I don't want the brightness to affect that place. I can take it out and it makes it darker, or I can bring it out and just lighten up certain aspects or certain spots within that image, right? So I can put one down here and bring the brightness in this area down a little bit just to blend in a little bit more, right? And that's the stuff you can do. You also have your curves here, just like in Lightroom, right? And I've made this image really contrasty just by playing around with these curves, but that's just, the way it works. You can play around as much as you want to get to the point where you want. You have your reds. So if I want to push in the reds a little bit, right, I can go in here into the blues, and I will push some blues into the shadows. Bring this down. And just like that, we brought in a boring image, and this is what we get. I mean, it's a little bit contrasty. We can spend some more time to edit and play around with it, but that's how the control point works in Vivazor, and you can use Vivazor to basically do a lot quicker and faster than you can do natively in Lightroom on its own, right? So that's why I use Vivazor. Let's save this, get back into Lightroom. And guys, if you have any questions, any comments, don't forget to leave them in the chats. So if I take a look, this is what we've done with Vivazor. This is the image we took into Vivazor. This is our original image. We did that in Lightroom, and this is the final image after processing it in Vivazor. Right, so Vivazor is one of the tools that comes with it. So it's Nick Collection as a bundle, but inside that bundle you have all these little tiny tools that you can use to speed up your workflow and make it so easy to edit. So instead of me having to go into Lightroom or even Photoshop and try to do selections and stuff and all of that, you can just use these control points within the Nick Collection suite to kind of quickly improve and edit and kind of make selections on the fly right within the application. Awesome. Let's move on to the next image. Right, maybe pick, this is what we just did. Well, let's just pick maybe this image here. Trying to find something. Right, let's pick this image here. So typical simple image, Brampton downtown. And in this image, as you can see, I brought up the exposure a little bit. I'm going to just bring my vibrance up a bit. I'm going to bring my blacks down just a touch. All right, so now I want to do something. This image still good because I'll shot this at ISO 250, and as you can see, noise levels are really good. It's clean, but I want to darken up the size a little bit, right? And I could do it right here. I could do it in Lightroom by going that way, but I'm making the whole image too dark, right? And I don't want to do that. I could just basically use the brush and paint in stuff. But there's an easier way for me to do it. I can basically just go back into Vivazor, right? So take this image, edit in, let's go to Vivazor 2. Let me see the comments quickly. Kim says, great options. Just put the names in. We'll have to watch it again. Yes. All right. So here we are. I'm going to go into Vivazor again. And here we are in Vivazor. And same thing, I'm going to pick a control point, put that control point somewhere here. I'm going to take the brightness, darken that section, right? I can move that control point up in the corner and a little bit away. And once you've done this control point and we have the settings that we need, right? This is what this control point we just did right here, right? This is what it's doing to the image, right? It's just darkening that corner. We can fine tune it a little bit more. And then we can take by holding down the Alt key, you can copy that control point with the same settings that you have and paste it somewhere else. So just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, right? And then you position them all around. I'll go into this corner here, copy and paste, copy and paste. I'm going to go down here, try to make this corner a little bit darker. And I can bring that down a little bit more, right? I can copy this again and bring it in, bring that in, bring that in. I really want to darken out some of these stuff here, right here. And what it can do is brush through in Lightroom again, just to bring out some of these. But as you can see, this section here, I want to bring a little bit more highlight to that. So I'm going to create a new control point somewhere right here. And for this control point, I don't want to darken as you can see, the blues here. So I'm going to place that control point right on the metal piece here. And as you can see, the software is detecting the color around that place. And so when I brighten, it's only affecting the colors on which I have placed that, right? And not affecting all the blacks in there. Really beautiful, right? Really nice and beautiful. So that's how control points will allow you to do a lot of stuff pretty simple. Like I can come in here and I put this on this right here, and you see I can brighten that quickly within that circle. Let's take our brightness, brighten those. You can bump the contrast. You can bring up the saturation or bring down the saturation of those colors. And you also can add details with the structure. So you can just quickly and effectively go through these and just, right, see as I move that control point, whatever color is being selected, that's what I can affect simply. And that's the beauty of these control points that are inside Vivazor, right? And as you can see, you can tell from what I'm doing here what that control point is doing, right? So take that, right, and I can bring the control point down, or everything within it, and bring the brightness down, bring the brightness up, right? Play around with it, play around with it. That's the whole goal of editing. You play around with stuff till you get to where you want to be, right? And the Visa makes it really easy. Interesting options. Yes, Kim. This plugin has a lot of interesting options and makes it really easy for you to kind of make selections on the go, and on the fly, just by placing that control point on that selection. So as you can see, you place the control point on the object, and it will detect the kind of color that the object is, and just keeps that thing or that object, and everything within that color range, affected without affecting anything else around it. And that's why I like to use Vivacer, right? So that's Vivacer. I'm going to just exit out of this because, like I said, I just wanted to run you guys through some of the tools, as quickly as possible. We've been 40 minutes already. I'm just going to keep this under an hour, so I'll try to wrap this up quickly. Gotta hide my taskbar here. I'm gonna do full screen on the Vivacer. That's your preview. So if you want to see before and after, that's where you go. This is what we brought in. This is what we're taking back out, right? So right, so we can go to file, quit Vivacer, and let's go back into Lightroom. Right, we didn't save it because I didn't want to, but that's how Vivacer works. The next one, I'm trying to find a high ISO image that we can try noise reduction on, but I don't seem to have one. So let's just try this one here. Not gonna have the effect that I wanted to, but let's try this. So we're going to right click and go edit, and let's go define tool. So define tool is basically for what we call noise reduction. So define tool allows you to kind of correct for noise. If you end up shooting an image at a really high ISO and you need to reduce noise, define tool is your guy. So let's quickly go here, and I'm going to show you what define tool does. So once you loaded the image, you can see it says automatic profile applied. What happens is that when you open the image, the software uses AI to kind of detect where in the software the noise is, and based on that, it will kind of try to determine and create control points that will kind of reduce the noise in those sections. So if I want to reduce noise in certain areas of this image, then all I have to do is put a control point, or what we call in this case a measure point, in that spot, right? So right now you can see that the method is automatic. So when the method is automatic, then AI scan is happening. And so you can see this box here, you can see that box there, you can see a box here, you can see a box there, and a box there. What these boxes means is that the software is detecting that these areas have high noise ratios. And so it's going to base the algorithm on those areas to try to reduce noise in those areas. And this works really well, especially when you're doing portraits and you want to make sure that you don't have too much of like a noise reduction on the person's face, but you want a noise reduction in the places around the person, like in the sky or in the shadows and stuff. So basically I will come in here and I will go to manual. And once I go to manual, now I have the option to add more points. So the software has done its own calculations. If I feel that the calculations it did or are not good enough, I can just reset everything. Now all the points are gone because I am on manual, right? So that means that I can now pick and choose where I think noise are in the image. So somewhere here, I can pick that. I can pick somewhere up here. The trick here is to try to pick stuff that are all within the same color zone or color tone, right? You don't want to be picking multiple colors. For example, in this image, I'm not going to pick somewhere here, right, and drag through here because I have two different colors. So I have that, right? Not a good spot to pick. Try to pick within the same color zones for the best results, right? Most of the time, automatic works, but when automatic doesn't work, this is how you do the manual sort of noise reduction in Define 2. And this thing works really well. So you can, I have shot images at 6400 ISO and have been able to kind of salvage that image using Define 2 to reduce the noise. So I've done this. I'm quickly going to save. And get out of here. Like I said, this image was shot at ISO 800 already, so there was not really much noise in here. But let's see, let's zoom in and compare. This is the original. This is the one that we have done noise reduction with in Define 2. And I'm going to go down here. And this is the image that, you know, we haven't done any noise. I don't see much of a difference because the image was clean anyways already. But here we go. As you can see, the original and a little bit of noise reduction applied, right? There we go. All right. Oh, I think I picked the wrong ones to compare. Let's see this. I think this is, yeah, this is the ones to compare. Let's go back to compare. So this is with noise reduction in Define 2. This is the original. And as you can see, if you look in this blue area here and you look in here, you can see a tiny bit of improvement with the noise. But like I said, this image was good already to begin with. But if you have a really high ISO shot, you can take a look and see, and you will see how well Define 2 works at noise reduction. All right, guys, so that's, maybe we should end it here. Unless you guys want to see one more. So let's do one more. I'm going to pick an image and let's try to see if we can try. I think we did that one already. Let's see this image here. Let's just pick this one just for the fun of it. Go back here, and I'm not gonna do nothing to this image here in Lightroom. I'm just gonna take it into Silver FX Pro. So let's go here and we're gonna do Silver FX. Where is Silver FX Pro? Right here. So Silver FX Pro 2, and I'm going to edit this. And here we are in Silver FX Pro. And right away you can see black and white has been applied. Silver FX Pro is really dynamic for and really good for black and white conversions. So as I come in here, you can see automatically has converted this. But there are a couple of things you can do to improve your selection. So here you can have the presets. We have modern, and these are the modern presets, right, that you can just play around with to get a base starting point if you need to, right? And then you have the classic stuff. There's a classic stuff, right? You have a lot of presets to choose from. You have the vintage, right? You can have a lot of stuff going on here. So all of these are built-in black and white conversion presets that you can use, and you can go to the all, and this will list all of the presets available for you in black and white, right? But down here you also have custom where you can save your own individual custom presets here, and this is where the magic happens. So you can pick any base that you want, any preset. Then you can come in here and tweak that preset to your taste and your liking, right? So you have control points as well in this. Similar way it works in Vivazer. It works the same way when you're using the control points. But you have controls for your brightness, your contrast, right? So you can come in, play around. You can bring out the shadows if you want. If the shadows are too deep, you can also play out with your highlights, right? And you have control points, so you can also use these control points same way, similar way, to kind of adjust only certain spots. So if I want this side darker, right, I can just put a control point, and let's say, yeah, let's look at the sky area. Let me up that a little bit. Put another one here, put another one here, so it covers all the sky a little bit, as much as possible. And oh, one thing I forgot to show you guys is that these control points, you can also select this control point, select that one, and you can group them together. So you can create groups of control points if you want to, right? And then you can adjust all of them at the same time as well, making it easier for you to make adjustments in a scenario like that. So you got your control points, place them as you want, and you can just adjust contrast and brightness and saturation in specific areas, right, of the image in the black and white conversion. And then you have your structure, right? You can bring up a little more clarity in here. You have grain, so if you like grain, you can add grain to the image, right? Add a little bit of grain. Black and whites and grain kind of are always kind of there, but a little bit of grain in there. Sensitivity for reds, so you can now play with individual color channels, as you can see. Yellows, all right. Your greens, if there's any greens in there, the cyans, the blues in the sky, you can play around with them, and that's it, right? Just a rough edit, but basically you have all the control points and all the stuff. And in the finishing section here, you have toning, right? And you can go, if you want that, add a little bit of color to your black and white, and you can color tone it with any of these, right? And then you have your vignetting, right? You can add a little bit of vignetting or not, play around with them. The edge bend, right? Kind of like a vignette in the middle there. If you want to add borders, here you go, image borders, border types, different types and stuff. And in all of these, you also have options, right? So the borders, if let's say I turn on the border, you have the border size where you can make it smaller or bigger, right? Based on your liking. You have the spread of the border, how clean should the edges be? So you got a lot of options to play with for black and white conversion, and it's really great to have all these options at your fingertips. So that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to share with you guys today. I wanted to go through Vivazor and show you guys also all the plugins that comes with Net Collection and how you can use some of these. If you need specific tutorials or want to learn more about each of or any specific piece of plugin that comes with Net Collection, let me know and we can probably put up a few videos on that and go through some of the specifics of using Net Collection to improve your editing workflow and speed up your things for you, right? Because the whole thing is that you don't want to end up shooting and coming back home and spending years and hours just hours and hours just editing. You always want to edit efficiently and faster and with speed, right? And Net Collection helps me do that, right? So guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. Subscribe if you're not, and stay blessed. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim. Thank you guys for spending the night with me. A lot more to come on Vivazor. Let me know if you're interested in any specific plugins or any issues with any of them, and we can take a look. I will leave a link in the comments after a while with at the end of the screen with links to where you can get Net Collection and stuff like that. All right, thank you guys. Have a good night. Stay blessed.